this is Kate from Generate Magic, and there was a different video I was planning on posting today, but I got inspired to make a different video based on a video that I saw from Be Something Wonderful. And I'm sure if you're watching my videos, then you're probably familiar with this channel as well, but if not, you should be. It's a really great channel. And so anyway, Tom was talking about belief, basically, and this whole idea of belief. It's a really great video. I will post to it in the description. But I wanted to really zero in on one specific thing that he talked about in the video that really just kind of jump-started this whole string of insights for me. And so he was talking about when we have this desire, right? And so there's the desire, right? There's the thing that you're desiring, like a goal or a relationship or money. And then there's the feeling of desiring, right? And so when we feel this desire, this longing, we can kind of see it almost as a bad thing, right? Like almost kind of like as a sign that some sort of like separation, right? That's standing between us and whatever we want. And but instead, what I came to realize in this video is that this desire, it's actually a good thing, and that it's when we kind of feel that tug, right? It's actually a nudge from the divine to claim this desire, to occupy it. And because all of these desires are potential realities, right? All these different versions of ourselves and all these different things we can do and be. But then you start by you picture it in your mind. And I'm not talking about an imaginal act, I'm just talking about the pure action of imagining something, right? And so for instance, like talking about like a career goal, suddenly you just kind of get it in your head, oh, it would be nice to be a doctor, let's just say. And so it just kind of starts as a thought that flashes in your mind. And then the thought starts growing stronger and stronger. And so then you start feeling that tug. And that's when it can start, if you're not really making any steps towards this desire, towards actually bringing it into fruition, right? That's when it can start to feel like this longing and this yearning. But as you start claiming it, then you start to bridge that gap, right, between yourself and the desire. And so I thought about it and kind of thinking about it in terms of two different types of desires, right? And so there's all these kind of what we would call like small pleasures in life. And I realized like how often I deny myself these small pleasures. And part of it is kind of coming from this sort of the childhood view that I think I've talked about, like having to eat the green beans before you can have your dessert, or you have to somehow earn it, right? And this feeling that I'm not deserving, that I'm not worth it, that somehow there's a part of me that's like bad or selfish or lazy. And so I somehow have to earn these small pleasures, right? And so I continually keep depriving myself of them, and I continually keep pushing them further and further into the distance. It is not necessarily like something that I'm consciously doing, right? It's maybe on a conscious level, I just tell myself, oh, I don't have time to do that today. And so that's what we often do, right? We tell ourselves that we don't have time to read for pleasure, or we don't have time to watch movies, or yeah, just do these little things, right, that we find pleasurable because there's quote unquote more important things that we have to do. And pretty soon it's been a year or more before we've read a book purely for the pleasure of it, or watched a movie. And believe me, I certainly have gone a year, if not more than that, without watching movies. And so yeah, and another kind of example, right, of sort of like denying myself these pleasures, like back when I lived in Los Angeles, I specifically moved to this neighborhood so that I could be close to Griffith Park. And I was paying a whole lot of money, like probably half of my monthly income, if not more, was going towards this apartment. It was this tiny little studio apartment, but the whole idea was so that I could walk to the park every day. But I wasn't even doing that. Most days I would just jump rope in the parking lot. And there's nothing against jump roping. I think it's great exercise, especially actually something good to do, like if you're short on time. But one day it occurred to me, here I was, and it's not a very good view, or it wasn't a very good view in that parking lot. There was a trash can, and then there was a dumpster, and then there were all the traffic going by, and then the view right at the back of the apartment complex. And so I was breathing in all this dirty air and getting a not very great view. And on top of that, like people, I don't know, they just found it like amusing to kind of heckle me, and like, or they would just kind of tell me, oh, you know, jump faster or jump higher. And it's like, well, why aren't you out here jump roping? And it was just really annoying. And then after a while, I was like, what am I doing? You know, here I am. I'm paying, again, all this money so that I could be close to the park. I'm not even going to the park. And so from that day forward, I started making it a priority to go and walk in the park every single day, no matter how, you know, so-called short on time, right? Because as we all know, time is eternal. It's just an illusion anyway. But, you know, no matter how busy my schedule was, I would always make some time out of the day to go to the park. And so, yeah, it's always just kind of like a constant reminder to myself, right? To allow myself these small pleasures. And yeah, recently I've been watching movies again. I've been reading fiction again, and doing things just for the pure enjoyment and pure pleasure of it. And so that's one thing, right, is these small pleasures. And so, but then another thing, right, is these bigger dreams that we have, these bigger goals and desires. And I think that's when the yearning is, and it almost kind of feels like it's tugging at you, right? And in the words of Langston Hughes, it's the dream deferred. And so I think many of us, right, we have this dream, and we probably, in a lot of cases, we've had this dream for a long time, maybe since childhood, but we keep putting it off because we feel like it's just not the right time, or we don't have enough time or enough money or whatever it is, right? And so we don't even bother to pursue it. But deep down, there's something tugging at us. And so yeah, I always like to keep it real in these videos and be really transparent with you. And so the other day, I talked about copywriting, right? And achieving my goals when it came to copywriting. And I'm very much proud of myself for having achieved these goals and achieving my dream of being the barefoot rider, and really kind of building a lifestyle for myself where I have this freedom and flexibility, and I'm not tied down to an office. I don't have to drive through rush hour traffic every day. So I pretty much built the life that I wanted for myself. So I'm very proud of myself for that. I don't in any way want to negate or invalidate that. But at the same time, there's also this drive that's been with me since I was a child of being an author, a fictional author. And I've certainly written a lot of fictional works, but I just really haven't made, you know, the strides towards actually putting them out there into the world. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think part of it is these limiting beliefs that I was told, that I bought into, about how it's just really, it's hard, if not impossible, to make a living as a writer. So at least, you know, when you're writing fictional works. And so like, why even bother? Is kind of this belief that I bought into. And so yeah, so definitely taking ownership for that, right? That it's not like anybody was forcing this belief upon me. I was the one that was buying into this belief, but just deciding, you know, in the moment that I don't have to buy into it any longer, and that this is the time that I am going to make this dream a reality for myself, and I'm actually going to put, you know, really make the steps towards putting these stories out into the world. And so then when it comes to that, then when it comes to bringing these bringing these desires to fruition, right? These dreams that we have. I think, you know, sometimes like kind of the old school self-help advice, like the kind of just do it and willpower and all that, I think sometimes that can definitely come in handy, especially for getting that initial momentum going. But I'm sure, as many of you know, right, willpower can only take you so far. But now I have all this new knowledge about manifestation. And so my motivation now is this wish fulfilled, right? And so when it comes to being a writer, and so let's look at it from some different angles. And so copywriting, there is a very clear reward, because I know once I finish that assignment that I'm going to get paid at the end of it. And so I never have to force myself or motivate myself to do these copywriting assignments, because I know that there's money waiting for me at the end of it. And when I was doing like a lot of blogging, and of course now I'm doing these videos, right? And also writing like emails to my list. And all of those things, it might be, it's a little bit different, right? Because there's not necessarily an immediate monetary reward to it, but there's the reward of you're putting it out there into the world, right? And you're immediately getting feedback. And so there's kind of like, there's the witness, right? You're having like a witness to the work. So it doesn't just feel like you're writing or you're talking to a wall. And so writing, when it comes to fictional type writing or writing a novel, I think sometimes it can feel very lonely, which is why I think it's good to do writing workshops and yeah, just meeting with different groups, and all of these things, right, can kind of help to keep us motivated and help to keep the process fun as well. And so, yeah, there was a while, even just a few months ago, where I was, on a website, they would have these different little writing challenges, and where they would give you a prompt, right? And then you would post your writing on the prompt. And so that was kind of a fun little way, right, for me to stay motivated. And so, yeah, so just kind of thinking of different ways that I can make it fun and make it enjoyable for myself. But really kind of what the bigger driving force for me is, now I have this bigger vision of myself, and I can actually see myself being a successful author, and successful in terms of sales, and also successful in terms of really kind of having readers be able to connect with my work and enjoy my work, because that to me is very important as well. And not necessarily, I'm not really, when I was like younger, I really wanted to win like all the prestigious awards, and that doesn't really drive me so much anymore. I don't really care about having validation from any sort of awards like that. But having readers actually enjoy my work is definitely very important to me. And so now it no longer feels lonely, and on top of that, it's no longer that I would say is above all, like the biggest motivating factor for me now that I'm getting back into writing fiction again, is having this larger goal and larger vision that's driving me. Because before, it was kind of like I know that I am I know that I'm a talented writer, and I know that I have the ability to succeed, but at the same time, there was always kind of like this doubt and this uncertainty in my mind, right? Like, well, maybe I won't. And all these just kind of voices over the years, like the critics and the naysayers, and just people telling me how hard it was, and knowing firsthand that there were many talented people who hadn't necessarily achieved success in their field. And so those were all the kind of like doubts that made it, I guess, difficult for me to stay motivated. But now it is just that bigger vision and the wish fulfilled that's really keeping me going. And so that is my message for you, is to, so first of all, when you feel that yearning and the longing, that it's not a bad thing, and it's not a sign that you're never going to get your desire. It's quite the opposite, right? It's a sign to start moving closer to your desire, both in your mind, right? Like aligning with your wish fulfilled, and then at the same time actually taking the steps in the physical world towards moving closer and closer towards that reality, and making that a reality for yourself. And so the first day, even though I write every single day and probably spend most of the day writing between copywriting assignments and emails and all sorts of things. But still, like when I actually got back into fiction writing, like I was a little bit rusty at first. And the first day I was like, man, like this sucks. Like I was just like looking back at my writing and thinking, oh man, this is awful. And just wanting to immediately give up. But I didn't. I kept going, and in the weeks since then, I made it, even if it's just 30 minutes just writing, and not from that, I know a lot of you kind of hear these cliches, especially when it comes to writing, like write every day. And so it's not anything like that. It's not out of any sort of sense of obligation or sense of what I should do. It's just because I know when I do it, that it's bringing me closer to that desire. It's bringing me closer to really being in that God state where I'm actualizing all these desires. And it's doing it not, I know too, kind of going back to that old school kind of self-help stuff, there's kind of a lot of shaming in it, right? Like, oh, are you gonna like look back at your life in 10 years and just feel like a complete failure? And so it's not, and again, that can kind of, that type of motivation can kind of maybe, it can get you started, right? But it's not, in my view at least, or in my experience, it's not really sustainable. So what's sustainable is doing it for yourself, right? Doing it for that deeper desire. And also, like, I found, like, all of what I do, like whether it's making these videos or it's this novel that I'm working on, it is kind of just like a conversation with myself, kind of helping to clarify some of these ideas and bring these different parts of myself and the being. And really it's for the novel, like I'm writing these scenes now where it's kind of like exciting because I'm kind of writing these scenes where I'm bringing up, even though it's through fictional characters, I'm kind of bringing up these memories of scenes of just things that have happened to me in the past where I felt maybe ashamed by them or embarrassed by them, and so much so that I didn't tell anybody, that I was having these experiences or these thoughts, even to the people that I was closest to. And so now actually being able to put it down on paper and imagine, that other readers are going to be able to connect with those scenes as well, because we all, everything is universal, right? And there's all, certain experiences and emotions that all of us are drawn to. Even if we haven't had that exact experience, right? We've definitely experienced those emotions. And so, so it's just been a very exciting process. And above all, just finding ways to make it fun for myself. And one last thing, I know again, this is getting to be kind of a long video, but the other day I wanted to revisit this short story that I had written years ago. And it was this short story about a McDonald's prostitute, and just this really ridiculous story and just absurd. And so I couldn't find it anywhere on my hard drive, and so I was just kind of looking through emails, trying to find any sort of record, because I was just curious to kind of reread it. And I saw that I had actually emailed this story to all of my writing professors or all of my past professors, and I was so embarrassed when I saw that, because I was like, oh no, here it is, all these like really, prestigious, accomplished writers and writers that have won all those prestigious awards that I mentioned earlier, and here I just sent them this ridiculous story, and telling them in the email, I said, I'm so excited about this new story. And but then I was like, who cares in the end, right? Like, for one thing, they probably didn't even read it. Like, you send stories to people all the time, and half the time, more than half the time, they don't even read it, and probably didn't even open the email for all I know. And then on top of it, who cares in the end? And, I had fun writing it. I think that's the main thing. And I was looking back at it, and I certainly unless I did some serious reworking of the story, I definitely wouldn't publish it, but there were some lines in there and some scenes that genuinely made me laugh just because they were so absurd and so ridiculous. And so that's what I want to leave you with today is, yeah, just really allow that bigger vision to guide you, to give you that faith that you need to keep going, and above all, just to have fun with the process. So thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.